Hey YouTube, how's it going? VenomMan20 here tonight, and tonight we're going to do another Q&A. This is probably going to be a pretty long video because I have quite a few good questions. If you have any questions that I didn't answer inside this video, you can always leave them in the comments down below and I will try to get to them. I have answered quite a few questions in my last couple Q&As, so you can also check those videos for the questions that you seek. So I actually have 4 or 5 questions that I want to get to before I get to the questions that were left into the comments. These are 4 or 5 questions that I got through the week on different social media platforms that I thought were really decent questions that I wanted to answer here. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. So let's go ahead and get those out of the way real quick. I do want to apologize, as always. My reading and spelling is pretty horrible, pretty rudimentary. So bear with me for that fact. If I murder your name, I am sorry. Philip Cumlander? Yeah, close. He was asking me about cerastes, which is the Sonoran horned adder, or the, actually you have it in here, the desert horned viper, some people call them. Cerastes, what do you know about these snakes? What does it take to get one? All that. You can keep them. Just from your question, I know you're kind of new to Venomous. So this snake is toxic for sure. You want to handle it correctly. The bad part about that species is they are very dry. You want to keep them really dry. They're only going to come out at night, and they're what I consider a jack-in-the-box. If you touch that top of that cage, they are going to hit. They're quick. They sit there just with their eyes sticking out of the sand. They're one of the coolest snakes on earth, but they will shoot out. You could keep them inside a tub or in like a vision cage, and it's not going to go real great because these guys need to stay dry, and there's going to be humidity inside the cage. There's going to be humidity buildup. So therefore, every time I've ever messed with them, we've always kept them in tanks. Now, if a screen top, worst part about that, if you ever put your hand on that screen top, they will hit that top and they will bite through that top and you will be envenomated. So you can't ever lean on that cage. You can't ever touch the top of the cage. You gotta be very careful taking the top off of the cage or sliding top or however you do it. Be very safe with that part. That's a sketchy part. They are a very cool snake, very rewarding to keep. In order to get ready for one, you should have basic knowledge of how to use hooks, tongs, when to use them, why to use them, different things like that. If you don't have that, I will be putting out a series of videos here very soon going very in depth on exactly how to do that. And I know that's only going to hit about 1% of my audience. Most of you guys don't care. But I think that 1% is definitely going to learn a lot from what I have to put out there. I just want to make sure I film it right, do everything by the books. I want you to take as much away from it as humanly possible, so it's going to take me a little while to get that video out. Anyway, next question. Rennie Melendez, I do believe is how you say it. I truly admire what you're doing. With the absence of a professional degree, I was wondering, taking such a high risk with your life, why are you taking such a high risk with your life? You can clearly write, I just clearly can't read. I love reptiles. It's sad. I probably shouldn't talk about it. Last year, working with cranes, building cranes, being a welder, we had 4 people die. Very big company. I mean, the numbers are there. Statistically, we didn't have a lot of accidents, but the accidents we had were very bad. Statistically, keeping venomous snakes probably safer than what I do on a day-to-day welding. I mean, if you want to take into the cancer-causing carcinogens that I take in daily, if you want to talk about the heavy steel I'm lifting overhead, if you want to talk about all the cranes I operate, I don't know. Plus the drive to work's very, very sketchy. A lot of people die in car accidents. This thing right here, this distraction, that ain't good. I would much rather take the chance in life and enjoy what I do than to be bubble wrapped, be inside a little shelter. I am obsessed with venomous snakes. I don't ever want to get bit. I don't ever want to die from one. It might be the perfect way to go because, I mean, it's something I just love. I absolutely adore. But at the same time, that's going to look really bad on the snakes. My whole life, I'm trying to preach, snakes aren't bad. Snakes don't kill unless they feel like they have to. So if I die, that looks really crappy. So I want to take every precaution that I can, trying to practice and preach what I preach. But with that being said, I'm not really worried about, the aspects of working with venomous snakes. Been doing it about 15 years now. I've never had an issue. I have had a couple close calls, and the couple close calls I've had were both preventable. So with that being said, like, I don't know, I've had a lot of close calls driving. I've had a lot of close calls with cranes. I would much rather die doing something I love. Hopefully that never happens. I'd much rather die doing something I love than to be driving on my way to work at a job that I hate and roll my car. I mean, how crappy is that? Waking up at 4 in the morning, dreading life, hating what I do, just to die anyway. We're all going to die. So, I mean, it's a huge risk, but at the same time, it's just something I love. So, do you release milk the snakes for antivenom? No. Milking snakes for antivenom, this is actually a very common question from a lot of people. You ask it actually very well compared to a lot of people that ask it. But it's very tough. And the reason I say it's very tough, from my understanding, I've never done it, I've never looked too deep into it. It almost seems as if you have to keep everything immaculate, which I'm fine with keeping reptile cages immaculate, but sometimes the floor gets dirty. Sometimes the table gets dirty. Sometimes I have cobwebs on the ceiling. In the venom production, these companies that buy the venom want it pristine. They want no contaminants. It is the hardest thing in the world to be working with live animals and not have contaminants. Have you ever pulled a forest goer out of a cage and a helicopter poops everywhere? That's a contaminant. I mean, you can have the cages immaculate, but these are eating, breathing, pooping machines. So it's very hard to keep everything clean to actually do that. I commend anybody who actually does the milking of snakes for antivenom or medical research. Maybe I'm wrong, but you seem very qualified. Why do you distract yourself with doing YouTube vlogs? A lot of people ask me that. A lot of people that I really respect. Why would you waste your time? One of my really good friends was one of the smartest people I ever met. He was a true genius. I mean, just so smart, makes me look stupid. I mean, just real stupid. Very uneducated. He was a genius. And then he passed away. And now to this day, I wish I could ask him a million questions. I wish I could call him up and be like, hey, what's this venom do again? How's that react to the blood? Because he could tell you anything and everything. The guy was smart. Now, just for you to know, he didn't die from a snake bite. He died of natural causes. But it's just when he died, his knowledge died. And that was sad. The world lost a lot of knowledge that day. The day that we lost Bill Hast, we lost a lot of knowledge that day. The day that Dean Repa got shot, we lost a lot of knowledge that day. If I can put all my knowledge out there on YouTube, I'm not saying YouTube's going to be around forever, but if that knowledge can be transferred on to one more person, so if I put out a video explaining something that isn't very well taken, like you're like, I don't care about this crap, just letting you know. Maybe the right ears hear it. Maybe somebody takes it in and is like, wow, this is very useful knowledge. I want to remember this. And they download the video or whatever. That's great. I make a little bit of monetary gain from it. Not very much. It doesn't even pay for my camera equipment. But at the same time, I think it's worth putting the knowledge out there. And no, yet again, I'm not that smart. But someday I hope to be that smart. And hopefully YouTube's still around or some platform where I can talk about reptiles. He goes on to say, be careful. And just to reiterate on that question, kind of after I read it a little bit more, it kind of seems as if you're saying, it's kind of dangerous distracting myself in front of a camera when there's a snake right here. A lot of times I'll have a snake right here, but I'm not going to be sitting right here. I'm actually back here. So from your perspective, it might look like I'm within 2 foot of a 5-foot viper. That's not the case. I'm within 5 foot of a 4-foot viper. I very seldom ever break that rule of being within strike range. If I do break that rule, it's because I'm watering something, it's already drinking, it's not paying attention to me. I'm just grabbing a little piece of shed out of the cage with some tongs, and my tongs ain't quite long enough. But that's the reason I've been successful on not getting bit. I don't cross that line. I don't reach into the cage. I don't take the extra chances. There's no point. I don't need to show off. That's not something that really... I don't need a good Instagram post. I don't care if people follow me on Instagram. Be cool if you did. If you don't, I don't care. Whatever. So this question, I'm not sure on your name. I'm going to go Yumar. I'm not sure. Sorry if I'm totally butchering that. What is the most dangerous snake to work with? And he's talking about large constrictors. She's talking about large constrictors. Not sure. Sorry about that. Anacondas, rock pythons, reticulated pythons. That's hard to say. I'm going to say, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think anacondas could be one of the most dangerous snakes on earth to work with when you're talking large constrictors. I think in the right situation, the right animal, the right keeper, none of these are dangerous. I think anybody could keep them as pets with a little bit of general knowledge, and I think they can be very rewarding pets. I want to get that off first and foremost. But if you have an aggressive animal, let's say the animal wasn't treated right, let's just say that it was just a bad apple. If you're talking anacondas, African rocks, or reticulated pythons, I'm going to lean towards anaconda, and there's a reason for that. So for me, I can take a very large hook, and I can hook the animal and move the animal, and normally it'll flee. It's like, I don't want to deal with this dude. He grabs me sometimes. I don't like that. I'm going to try to get away. I can grab a retic and I can work it. Sometimes it's hard with a 10-footer, 15-footer, 20-footer, but you can work them. They are a workable animal. Now, if it's an overweight animal, maybe not, but you can work it. African rock python, I've had to pin those before in the zoo for eye issues. And it's a 15-foot individual, grabbed him behind the head and just held on for dear life, and it was strong. It was really strong. But one thing that those snakes do that a lot of people don't talk about is actually false strike. So I was watering one day, sitting there spraying, and it punched me in the shoulder with its head. And it hurt. Holy crap, it almost knocked me off my feet. But it didn't bite me. It's just back up, and it meant it, and I just backed up, we're good. But an anaconda is a hard animal to work. And the reason I say you can't just work it as it's running away. You can't just sit there and work because they're too heavy. I mean, if you take a full-grown adult green anaconda, you just can't do that. Picking them up and they're dangling their head, they're trying to bite your legs. You can't hold them out far enough away from your body to not get bit. African rocks, I feel like you can for the most part a lot of times. Retics, you can if they're not a massive specimen. If it's a massive specimen, then... Actually, the most aggressive snake I've ever worked with was a large female retic. And I don't know if she was dropped as a baby. I'm not making a joke there, but serious about that. I don't know if she was dropped as a baby and she was traumatized. I don't know if she was wild caught. But that snake would never snap out of food aggression. And that snake was a scary animal. Like, I've had a lot of close calls with her for no reason. Like, normally the snake comes at you, it's typical, and you can kind of back it up and it'll get off of you and you're good. But that retic was bad. She would never snap out of that as long as I worked with her. She was just a bad snake. Sam Watts, indigo snakes. Could you do a video on them? Thank you for reading my question. Okay, so indigo snakes. I would like to do a video on indigo snakes. I don't have any indigo snakes. That might change here very shortly, but I don't know. They're a very interesting snake. They're one of the smartest snakes I've ever met. They're very intelligent, and I like them a lot, but I don't have any, so we will see in time. Ivan asked some very good questions. I'm sorry I'm not going to say your last name because I don't know how to even start with that one. Best and easiest venomous snake to start with. Typically, I'd always say somebody else's, just in case if it had a medical issue, they could help you work with it. Hydrodynastes, which is the false water cobra. False water cobras, just because they're extremely non-toxic. They are venomous. If it bites you, it's going to hurt a little bit, but you shouldn't get bit by them. They're not bad. Traveling with a snake, moving to a different city, county, country, whatever. What's the process? Are they allowed on the plane? How does a snake handle long distances? If you drive from state to state with a venomous snake, it's not good. The reason I say that, like, for instance, I grew up in Missouri. If I was to drive from Missouri to, let's say, going to Indiana. Indiana is relatively lenient as far as I know. I know some keepers in Indiana, so I'm guessing it's lenient on keeping venomous snakes. If I was to drive, I would have to drive to Illinois. In order to drive to Illinois, they have some of the strictest laws in the country. I would have to call them ahead, be like, hey, this is the route I'm taking. This is what time I should be going through. This is blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of tape to go through. I understand why Illinois does that. It's because if there's a big car crash, you're like, wait a second, wasn't the rattlesnake guy going to be coming through at like 2 in the morning? And that could be the rattlesnake guy. Be careful going up to the car. I get that. But it is very challenging. I think the easiest thing to do is to bag the snake, put the snake into the approved box, and to go to Delta Cargo and to ship the snake. Ship it to your, have somebody on the other end to pick it up. Takes 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to ship it. No big deal. Easy going. Snake doesn't stress too much because they're relatively gentle. They know that it's a live snake, so they take extra care in handling a live animal like that. I think that's the way to go. So all these questions are by Ivan, by the way. What species do you think might become endangered in the near future? I think pretty much any large snake that people are afraid of could become endangered. I don't think that the black mamba is, because it has such an expansive range through Africa. I mean, Africa's huge, and they are native throughout most of it. King cobras, I think, are going to be a big one that's going to become endangered, especially if they get reclassified. If they get reclassified into the Chinese king, the Malaysian king, the Indonesian king. I think that I think the Chinese king will be considered CITES, an animal. CITES 2 animal, so it would be endangered. So here's another question by Ivan. If you got bit by a snake that has no antivenom, let's say a squamager, and the hospital's 5-hour drive distance, what would you do? It's a good question. Get to the hospital as soon as possible. There's no point in cutting the wound. There's no point in trying to suck the venom out. That doesn't work. I mean, very little of that's ever going to work. If it's like an elapid, you're saying a squamager, which is not an elapid, but if it was an elapid, you could do a pressure bandage. Don't cut off circulation. You could put a pressure bandage on it. You could for the viper too. It's not going to have nearly as good of effects. But let's say, in theory, I know it's going to take me a little longer than 5 hours, and it's a venom that I don't, let's say it's a Malaysian blue coral snake, another snake that from what I understand doesn't have an antivenom. I honestly haven't looked too far into that one. If it bites me, I know it's deadly. Think, what am I going to do? A lot of people would cut off circulation to the limb. Well, there's a real problem with that. If you cut off circulation, like let's say you cut off your hand and you're bleeding out. If you cut off the circulation to your hand, it needs to be, you need to let the circulation back in about every 5 minutes so you don't permanently damage your arm and lose your whole arm. Now you gotta think, is it better to lose my life? Is it better to lose my arm? You should be able to possibly survive. I think it's better to try to keep the arm. Because what happens if you cut off the circulation to your arm and he's bit you on the hand, that venom is now working through your system right there. All that venom is now in your blood, because it's kind of like a dripper, right? So the venom's just slowly entering your blood. So if you let it go through your whole body, your kidneys are like, oh crap, that ain't good. And they start filtering it out automatically. Now, yet again, it's going through your system wreaking havoc. But your kidneys are doing what they can do, plus it's going through a very big, especially me, a very big individual, So therefore, the venom takes a while to actually start killing me. If I cut off circulation to my arm, the second that I release the circulation, bring the circulation back in, if it will start again, it's going to go straight into my system. It's going to be a huge shock to the system. And it could easily kill you, the shock alone, let alone the venom. So there's videos or pictures online. If you Google like Bothrops atrox bite or Fertilance bite, that bite right there, the lady cut off circulation to her leg to where the venom was only running through her leg. Grossest picture I've ever seen snake bite wise. Just warning you, probably don't want to Google it, but if you do, it's out there. I'm not putting it in this video because I like my monetization. Hopefully I'm not losing too much energy answering all these questions. I'm a little tired. I got like an hour before work. Haven't been to sleep yet, so that's why I'm not handling anything tonight. About bedtime. But anyway, Potato Salad asked, how many crocodilians do you have on loan and what species? I have a Morlets on loan. I have 4 alligators on loan. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's mine. So I don't have anything else on loan. Now, I work with a couple other crocodilians, but they're not mine. So we won't include them in there. Gloria, Stacy, what is the most venomous snake that you keep? The Bothrops lanceolatus scares the crap out of me. Its venom does. I don't know if I consider it the most venomous, the most toxic. You're probably talking about the deadliest. Deadliest could be the black mamba. It's one that you really got to take into consideration, really think about before you handle it. That's about to change in 2 weeks. and past that I won't be able to go up any more toxic. That will be the most toxic, so make sure you subscribe for that one. Virginia B, what species of snake is your favorite personality wise? Do you prefer more intelligent, calm, goofy, etc.? Do you value rarity over ease of care, practicality versus beauty, or is there a variety, just the spice of life? Okay, so there's a lot to that question. Virginia B, what species is your favorite personality wise? Personality wise, indigo snakes are really neat. Mambas are interesting. Boom slings are cool. There's a lot of snakes personality wise I really like. Do you prefer intelligence, calm? I don't care about calm. I don't really care about goofy. I really enjoy intelligence in people and snakes and reptiles, all of it. I love mambas. I love king cobras. I love animals that are smart. If you take a monocle cobra and set it up inside a real nice cage, it'll sit there at the glass and strike at you all day. It'll hit the glass and be like, ow, that hurts. And it'll strike and hit the glass again, ow, that hurts. And it never gets it. It just never seems to get it. Now you take a forest cobra, put it into the same enclosure, let it get used to where the glass is. For one day, it'll never hit that glass. It'll just sit back and just watch you. You know, it'll sit up, try to stay out of range and just watch you from a distance. Same with the mamba. It'll be sitting there just watching you. They're not psycho. They understand that there's glass there. Now, when that door comes open, they know that too, and that's scary. That's a smart animal. But I really like that. Value, rarity over ease of care, yes, all day long. I love something that's very unique, something that not very many people's got to work with. Otherwise, I would just own ball pythons. I mean, let's be real. They're pretty practical. I don't keep very many practical animals. CJ Gentle, what do you look like without the hat on? You seem really attached to it. I'm going bald. I'm getting older. My hair's receding. I don't like it. It's not my thing. Yeah, aging sucks. Jack of all, masters of none. I don't really think you had a question here, but he actually started talking about self-immunization and what Steve Ludwin and Tim Freed and what they're doing with that. If everything you say is correct, that's really interesting. I need to read more into that because that's pretty cool. So Austin M, I've been thinking about getting a new snake hook. The company I use went out of business. I heard mixed things about other snake hook companies, but some semi-local. That's cool. I appreciate that. I'm gonna plug my own merch real quick. I just started my own line of custom snake hooks. If you looked at my Mamba unboxing video, you would have seen them on that video. I really like them. I really like the quality. I've still got a couple more tests I want to do before I release them to the public. I will be having links. I will be pushing them a little bit. I'm not going to get over cringy with it. I don't want to do it every video or anything, but I do want people to understand that they are out there if you're looking for a good, decent hook. But I want to get some Bushmasters out with them. I want to move some Kings. I want to make sure that they hold up to everything that I would put them through on a daily. They should. I mean, I've worked with steel and other types of metal my entire life. Not my entire life, but for quite a while, needless to say, building some of the biggest cranes in the world. I think I can probably build a pretty good hook. And they're made from some of the best quality materials. So anyway, you could always do that route, or I can give you a list of some other good hooks that I like as well. I'm not partial to my own brand. I use other type, like Midwest Mini Hook is like the best hook ever made. I just love the weight of that hook. But like I said, if you want a cool looking hook, I got them coming. Mike Black, what is the first hot snake that you ever handled? I was 12 years old in Arizona. A rattlesnake I almost stepped on. I didn't really handle it. So I'd probably say 15 years old, copperhead. Friend had a copperhead in his barn and he asked me to move it. And I'm like, it's probably a water snake. Could be a hognose. Let's go find out. Flipped over a bucket. It was a copperhead. Sweet. So that really got me intrigued, needless to say. 643 Rider, you should do more reticulated python videos. I only have one reticulated python, but I can show her to you here real soon. Let me feed her and let her get out of shed first, and then I'll upload a video of her. Okay, so I did talk about like size of venomous snakes. I can't remember exactly what the question was that I was talking about on the last video, but Adamantius 11 said size is debatable. A big eastern diamondback or basiliscus is probably heavier than a polylepis, which is the black mamba. The eastern diamondback's bigger than a black mamba. Same discussion, reticulated python versus anaconda. I completely agree. I didn't look at it like that. Every time I think of biggest venomous snake, I always think longest. You know, king cobra, black mamba, bushmaster. I forget, a big eastern diamondback probably does weigh more than a big black mamba. It's quite possible. So yeah, I just didn't really think about it like that. But you're 100% right. Lewis Speed, this may be dumb, but why don't you ever see venomous snake keepers with sea snakes in large aquariums? Sea snakes would be really hard to keep. Some of them might be protected. I'm not sure which ones are. I honestly don't know a lot about sea snakes. Their venom's really interesting to me, but past that, you know, I don't look too much into it. I do know that there's some people in Europe keeping, what is the yellow-lipped sea kraits, which are a type of sea snake, and I think they're having quite a bit of success with them, which is really interesting. But past that, I don't think anybody's keeping much of anything else, if anything else. So I think it's just upkeep. I mean, to have a massive saltwater aquarium is really hard, and then to throw a reptile in it, that's just a pain in the butt. Nikki Wallace asks, really enjoying the channel. This question might be dumb, but are your snakes wild caught or captive bred? Some of them are captive bred, some of them are wild caught. So I did some Aetherius squamager unboxing, which is the variable bush viper unboxing. I think it was listed like 5 venomous snake unboxing or 5 viper unboxing. Those were all wild caught. I do have a couple of Aetherius squamagers that were captive bred. My little black mamba, captive bred. Bushmaster's captive bred. But some of them are wild caught. I'm trying to think. Possibly some of the eyelash vipers. I know some of those were captive bred too. It's kind of hard to go through everything. But yeah, it just depends. Just depends on the animal. I would like to eventually get all the captive bred. But one thing I have noticed is like years back in, I want to say 2012, I could be wrong on the years, Africa shut down its borders, right? They would no longer export out of Africa. The black mambas, just forest cobras, there just wasn't any on the market. I mean, they pretty much just totally dried up. So with that being said, we do rely on wild caught animals a lot in the private sector. We do. There's a lot of really good breeders out there, but there aren't enough. You know, a lot of people just keep and they don't breed. So it would be great to be self-sustaining eventually. We're not there yet. Susie Davis, I do believe, you don't really ask a question, but she's like, wow, I know plenty of women who love reptiles, love venomous. What a stupid thing to say. Personally been keeping venomous longer than a lot of people have kept reptiles. Last video, I talked a little bit about, you know, I don't have a girlfriend because a lot of women don't necessarily get into reptiles. I do understand. A lot of women do like reptiles. But first and foremost, I work like 110 hours a week. So working 110 hours a week, doing the YouTube, driving all the time. I sleep like 2 to 4 hours a day, every day. That's just typical. On the weekends, sometimes I crash a Saturday and I'm just out, just completely out. It's just my body dying. You know, am I going to be able to do this forever? No. For the next year, yeah, definitely doing this for as long as I can. I can't expect somebody to want to be inside a relationship with somebody who has absolutely no time to spend with them. You know, it's like, oh, am I going to go out on a date with you or am I going to go to the reptile building? Let's get real. You know I'm going to the reptile building. So, with that being said, yes, there are women out there, but it's like, what, 0.5% maybe that are into reptiles, let alone venomous reptiles? So, I know you exist, just very few of you. Reed Stewart, which venomous snake varies from geographical location? Which venomous snake's venom varies from geographical location to another? Actually, quite a few. It's actually pretty interesting. So, if you take your timber rattlesnake from one location into another county, you go from hemotoxic venom straight into neurotoxic venom. So, you can have a snake that's literally 40 miles apart that is an extremely dangerous snake, compared to a snake over here that's, you know, I mean, they're dangerous, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as bad of a bite. So it's weird, and I don't want to say this because I'm probably saying some stuff that I don't fully understand, but I'm pretty sure, and I think it's pretty well known, that these snakes venom is adapting at a very quick rate. And what I mean literally, squirrels are becoming immune to the venom, so the rattlesnake's venom has to change for it to survive. I mean, literally evolution is happening in front of our eyes on some of these species. That's some cool crap. It's some stuff I don't understand. I can't get into it. I can look into it, but it's just interesting, very interesting. Kevin Poe, what is a Holy Grail dream snake? Gold streak cobra, more than likely gold streak cobra. Also, good luck on the Malaysian blue coral. Whatever you do, if you ever get one, don't get bit. It would be cool to get one. I know 1 or 2 or 3 have came into the country, and that would be a neat snake to get my hands on. But it is a scary snake. The long-glanded coral snake, very interesting species. So Kevin Poe also asked, do you think that Horodum, so like your beta lizards, Gila monsters, right, your venomous lizards from the southern United States, southwestern United States, make up for their lack of ability to do anything? So I've always talked, they're kind of like pandas. They're klutzy, not real good at activities. They're just not real graceful. Do you think their venom makes up for this in nature? Yes. I definitely think if they weren't venomous, I don't think they would be around. I don't think, they're not real good. I mean, there's a lot of animals. The leopard geckos aren't real good either. You know, they're not real great at life. And they're doing great. Crested geckos, I mean, I know that at one time they were thought to be extinct. I get that, but they're not. I don't know, they can jump pretty good. That's one thing that the leopard geckos can't do. But yeah, I do think the venom definitely plays a role in their ability to survive, for sure. And then he also asked, do you think that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services is over-exaggerating the Gila monsters' scarcity? Yes. No. I don't know. I think that they're very rare. How rare? I'm not sure. I definitely think that the introduction of highways going through the desert definitely is a huge decline of the species. You know, there's big areas like, for instance, Phoenix, down to the valley like that. Just the development. I mean, the rate in which that city is expanding out into the desert is just insane. So, yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that we need to try to preserve the ones that are left, because I don't know that there's that many. I mean, since they live underground, it's very hard to tell, kind of like the black-headed bushmasters. Mac Jack, in one of the videos, you said that you should train with a non-venomous snake with the same personality as the venomous snake that you want to keep. In one of your upcoming videos, can you suggest some species to train with? I think it's more or less what you're saying. Yeah, that's, yet again, that series I'm working on, that's going to go in depth on that to a degree. Yet again, I don't believe there's, to compare a Bothrops with any non-venomous species is kind of dumb. But, I mean, there's always better choices than some, and I think I can kind of point you in the right direction on that. Rebecca Friend, what made you decide that you want to keep venomous snakes, and how old were you when you got your first one? How many hours of venomous training are required to get a permit, and does it cost a lot of money? Where I live, there is not a permit system required like that. Anything exotic is not permitted. Now, if it was native, yes, there's a lot of permits, and it's a hard system to go through. They don't want you poaching from the wild, is what that is, and I totally respect that. So as far as cost of money, I'm not sure. I know what the native permit costs. It does cost a little bit. It's nothing that's going to break the bank. What made me decide to get into keeping venomous snakes? I was walking through the desert late one night, and I almost stepped on a rattlesnake. Came very close. Now, according to all the news outlets and everything, all the TV, you would think this snake's probably going to kill me. It's probably going to chase me home, you know, look up my address, kill my dog, you know, shoot my mom. That's just what snakes do, right? I mean, that's what I've been taught. That's what I heard on TV once. And it didn't. It didn't have any inclination to do anything bad. You know, it was very gentle, very calm. Just wanted to go on about its night. Didn't want anything to do with me. And that really struck a chord. I'm like, wow, everything I know about these snakes are wrong. This snake should be trying to kill me right now, and it just doesn't care. Just doesn't care. Just wants to go on about his business. And it really opened up my eyes. So I probably shouldn't get into talking about this because age is kind of stupid and I don't want some younger person to hear me. But at 15, I started working with Venomous. Should I have? No. Did my mom know? No. You know, I mean, It just kind of is what it is. It's just one thing I was obsessed with, and I found my ways. But yeah, I've just kind of always been interested, right? I mean, for a long time as a little kid, I was kind of afraid of snakes. Snakes intimidated me because my entire life I was trained snakes are bad. Stay away from snakes. Don't touch snakes. Snakes are scary. I had to get over that. And then I got over my fear of spiders. There wasn't anybody putting a gun to my head and say, hey, get over the fear of spiders. It was, who am I to be afraid of this tiny little thing instead of this cute little web? Why should I be afraid of this animal? I shouldn't. I mean, I'm a full-grown man. At that time I wasn't, but I'm a decent enough sized person. This thing's definitely more afraid of me than I am of it. So therefore, it just kind of evolved. Just got obsessed. So yeah, don't get a venomous snake when you're 15. Don't get a venomous snake when you're 18. Don't rush it. We're not at a race to death. We're all just trying to learn and enjoy these beautiful creatures. You know, if you want to learn more about venomous snakes, make sure you subscribe. I will try to teach you everything I know. But that's that question. Mac Jack, please show us your king cobra if you have one. I do have one. She's in shed. I will be doing a new video as soon as I can, but I don't want to bother her while she's in shed. Harry Timms, not exactly sure what type of viper you're talking about. Maybe autocorrect got the best of you. If you want to reiterate on this video, I will try my best to answer your question. Kevin Albright, my question is, have you ever watched the Facebook video of the man and possibly in India in the pit of cobras, or like 50 cobras going through the snakes? Seems to have no regard to the snakes being there, more or less. Yeah, I've seen that video. Bad part about parts of the world like that is they don't necessarily view animal cruelty as the same we do. So a lot of those snakes, I actually seen a video just the other day that was disgusting. They were taking the mouth of the snake and pulling the teeth out, the fangs. You can do that. Snakes' fangs do grow back, but their mouths get horribly infected. I remember watching a show as a little kid. Steve Irwin was going through like Thailand and seen a bunch, I think it was Thailand, it might have been Thailand. I was going through one of the markets and seen a bunch of reticulated pythons, and their mouths were really swollen and really messed up. It was just, you know, from them taking a stick into their mouth and ripping their teeth out. And that's a real shame. And that might have been what was happening there. All those snakes look to have been wild caught, I think. And the reason I say it because some of them were gravid, you know, having eggs in the pit. But I don't know. It's just, I understand that they have a huge case of snake bite over there, so removing the snakes, I get that. And I know a lot of people have a lot of respect for the local serpents, but all those videos make me really sad. I don't like looking at those. This is a question that's kind of out of my realm, and it's also from Kevin Albright. What do you think about the ball python morphs? Do you agree with that type of breeding? Do you think things like the spider wobble is a sign that should not be happening? That's tough. The spider wobble. If a snake is showing like a death gene, like, you know, like a super leopard boa, I do believe it's the leopard. No, it ain't the leopard. It's the motley, super motley, right? Where you breed the motley of motley, you get super motley, it comes out all gray, but they don't survive to adulthood. I just don't think we should breed that. You know, it's a real shame. I mean, unless you're trying to make king cobra food, I don't see the point in doing that. The spider wobble, you know, could be wrong. I don't know a lot about ball pythons. It seems like it's progressively getting worse. I know when the first spider ball python was brought into the country, it didn't seem like it had this issue. You know, it didn't seem like there was a lot of, maybe I'm wrong yet again, but it could be just that we've got to an extent of inbreeding so bad that these snakes are just screwed up, for lack of a better term. I think just once they're not showing any signs of ill issues, you know, like for instance the spider wobble, if they're not showing it, yeah, I mean, keep doing it, that's cool, whatever, it's none of my business. You know, it's just like somebody telling me I shouldn't keep venomous snakes, you know, I mean, it is a free country. I do think the animal needs to be put first, you know, if you can care for it, it's not showing any signs of, you know, whatever. You know, it's just like hybrid snakes. A lot of people, I hate hybrids. I'm not a hybrid fan. But that's because I don't want people to breed Indonesian king cobra to Chinese king cobra, and then I buy it thinking it's a pure Indonesian, and it's not. And then I breed it with my pure Indonesian, and next thing you know, I don't want that. But if you're breeding a ball python or a carpet python, just as long as the baby's coming out healthy, I don't really care. you know, and if they don't on the first litter, sometimes that happens too. So it's all debatable. I don't like to point fingers because then I got fingers pointing back at me. I don't know. As far as where the hobby's going, I don't think that's our biggest issue, you know, the ball python morphs. I think we got a lot bigger stuff to worry about. I won't mess this name up, but Har Taver, I do believe, close to, right? What is the largest non-venomous dragon lizard that you can keep as a pet? That's debatable. For me, this is going to sound stupid, you're going to disagree. I see beaded lizards, Gila monsters as venomous. That's just me. I understand that monitors are venomous. I've been bit by monitors and had no ill consequences. So therefore, I don't really classify them as venomous. They are. They totally are. We could debate that all day. They are. So, with that being said, I would consider a large water monitor a non-venomous lizard. That you can keep as a pet. That's a 7-foot animal. Possibly 8 foot, possibly 6 foot. Just depends. It's a big freaking lizard is what it is. It's a lizard the size of this table. You can't even see the whole table. It's a big freaking table. It's a big freaking lizard. So yeah, I mean, you can keep that. That's not a good pet. And I mean, they're great if you have the space, but 90% of people don't have the space. I mean, this whole reptile room could be one lizard enclosure. I mean, I can keep 100 snakes in here real easy. Can't necessarily keep 2 monitor lizards. You know, they just need so much room because they're nomadic. They love to walk. They love to swim. It's another big thing. It's like keeping a crocodile. You really need a lot of room. If snakes don't have ears and can't hear, why do folks talk to them? That's still same person. So snakes can hear. A lot of people think they can't hear because they don't have external ears. They do have internal ears. I don't think it's the same as us hearing because the frequency is like the realm of the ability to hear is like very limited on hertz and everything. And I know I'm killing this. It's like 2 in the morning. Bear with me. But they actually hear through their jawbone. So their jaw will pick up vibrations and they can read them vibrations. They can hear them vibrations. They can kind of tell where it's coming from. They can kind of tell the pitch. Don't know if they can really tell, you know, what you're saying. They probably can't. But they can tell that you're talking. They can totally hear you. But, I don't know. I just talk to them just to be talking to them. You know, a friend of mine has a deaf dog. I love talking to him too. He never talks back. He's a dog. No dog does, even if he wasn't deaf. So, can you breed a venomous snake to like an anaconda? No, you can't. You can't hybridize like a viper to a viper in a lot of instances. But no, you can't breed. So an anaconda being a void or a boa, right? It couldn't cross into like the vipers. It's a different genus, wouldn't work. Probably going to butcher this one a little bit. For Englishlies says great Q&A. Just wondering, what's the most mildly venomous snake you would want to have without that you could have without a license? I think autocorrect got the best of you. It happens. Hydrognastes, like I said, the false water cobra. It's a pretty good snake. It's pretty mildly venomous. Even like chemically induced, like to have it release as much venom as possible. It can only release 3 megavenom, and it takes 100 megavenom to kill you. So needless to say, that's only 1/30th the amount that it would take for death. So it's a snake that you could easily handle, you could easily mess with, you could easily keep as a pet. Hognose snakes, Madagascar giant hognose snakes, golden hognose snakes, both great snakes. Madagascar giant hognose snake, they've caught me off guard a couple times, so that's one you kind of got to want to be careful with. They're a little springy sometimes, and they get big, real big. For a hognose, they get huge. Also, like boiga, the cat-eyed snakes, the mangrove snakes. Now, the mangrove snakes takes, yet again, let's see, they're more like cobra toxic, I think somebody was saying. It's Dr. Brian Fry that was saying it, but I can't remember exactly how toxic they were, but it was more of like a third. I want to say that if it takes 100 mg to kill you, which I don't think it does, I think it's a lot less than that, but their maximum venom yield was only like 30 mg to the 100 mg it would take to kill. So it was like 1/3 lethal dose per bite if it delivers venom well. It's a rear fang snake, so it's going to have a real hard time delivering the venom. Just don't get bit by it. It's a really cool snake, just don't get bit. I probably butchered that question pretty good. Ray Conway, thank you for the Q&As. Have you talked about cages or possibly discussed video on equipment, grabbers, sprayers, the equipment you use, any protective gear? Yes, yet again, that series I'm working on, that's coming here real soon. Michael Ross got a question. Do antivenoms come in powder or liquid or both so they last longer? So there are antivenoms in powder form from even like the 1970s that in theory some people say could still be good to this day. I don't know if I trust that. But the powder form does last quite a bit longer. And then there's also the liquid form. Liquid form is what we typically use nowadays, but powder form is still, I don't know if it's still available. I don't know if it's still being made, but yes, there are vials of powder form antivenom out there. Ooh, that's a really good question. So Natalie Turnbull, you've asked a lot of questions on my channel. I do appreciate that. So this week, in your opinion, what's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand about venomous reptiles? And thank you for answering the last week's question. Oh, this is a great question. A lot of people think venomous snakes have venom to protect themselves. They do, kinda. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Sea snakes. Some of the most toxic snakes on earth. Why are they so toxic? Because they live underwater. So if a sea snake bites a fish, that fish needs to die now because it cannot trace a fish with the current and with the waves. It cannot track a fish down to where it goes to die. Very hard. So they need to kill that fish now. They don't have an hour. They need to kill it instantly. So they're very toxic. Inland taipan. Lives into the middle of nowhere. Doesn't ever come in contact with people. Lives in the middle of the outback. One of the hottest places on earth. Lives underground a lot of times. They don't see food very often. Very often at all. Most toxic snake on earth. When they see food, they need to kill it now. They don't have time to wait around. They need it dead. Black mamba. Most feared snake in the world. Possibly. I mean, a lot of people fear it. In my last video I said most feared snake in the world. People freaked out. It is. It's the great white shark of snakes. But whatever. Here in America, they do a lot of shows on the black mamba. They talk about how bad it is. So we're going to say it's the most feared snake in the world, at least. Maybe it ain't where you're from. The black mamba, if it sees a bird and it wants a bird and it's hungry, it needs to bite it and kill it. It needs to drop that bird now. Not later, now. So therefore it's super toxic. The golden lancehead, Bothrops insularis. The snake from Snake Island, extremely toxic. Why? It lives on an island with other snakes and very little food. It needs to be able to bite that food and it needs to die now. Everybody thinks that venomous snakes have that venom to protect themselves. It lives at some of the most hospitable places on earth. They need to protect themselves from people. Not necessarily. I think venomous snakes need to kill their food instantly, and that's why they're so toxic. I think that's what it really comes down to. It's very beneficial, needless to say, also if they have that venom to protect themselves. But for the most part, I don't see that it evolved that way. I see that it mainly evolved for food capture. So that's one thing that a lot of people just don't seem to understand. And I do believe I'm right on this. Dauber, I do believe is how you say your name. I'm not sure what viper genus you're talking about. Apparently it's from Africa. I'm not exactly sure. If you can reiterate on here, I think Yet Again Spell Check got the best of you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just too tired to realize what you're talking about. I'm sorry about that. If you can reiterate, I will answer it on this week's question. Sorry, I don't totally understand the question. David Wilson, what's the fastest striking snake, the puff adder or the black mamba? That's debatable. A lot of people have their own theories. I think some of the bothrops are some of the fastest striking snakes in the world. The bittus, the gaboon viper, rhino viper, puff adder, those are very fast striking. I think one of the big things with those is they catch you off guard because they don't sense before they strike. They sit there completely motionless and then all of a sudden they just shoot. You know, they are quick. But I don't know. There's a lot of fast snakes. A 12-foot black mamba, he's going to clear more distance, you know, than that gaboon viper is. So questionable. The real question is how long does it take from it to get to point A to point B? And how far is that distance? You know, we need to break it down, do the math equation on this one. I'd like to do that in the future. I haven't did it yet. We'll figure it out. Sean Simon asks a question. I have a question. What are some of the options for starter non-venomous snakes? the length and girth of something like a pine snake. So I'm not sure if you're talking about like trying to get into venomous, or if you're just talking about like a good pet snake that could get you ready to like keep a pine snake, like maybe possibly your first snake. If that's the case, I started with corn snakes. I think they are great pet snakes. They're just wonderful. They're perfect. They're perfect in every way. Plus there's some cool looking color morphs out there. Now there's Monthlies, so you get striped ones, or I've always liked like the snows. All those are just cool. If you're talking about like, yeah, that's got to be what you're asking. If I got that wrong, I will re-answer next Q&A. I'm pretty sure that's what you're asking though. So I think I nailed that, hopefully. I like corn snakes. Guardians Animal Rescue State /state something. I'm sorry, it kind of cuts it off on my thing. Thanks for the great video. Question for you all. If your friends were to describe you as a kind of snake, which kind of snake would they pick? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sporadic. I could definitely see myself being something a little crazy, black mamba or something, but it'd probably be something way dorkier. I don't know, like a Kenya African sand boa that moves a lot. I don't know. Just, you know, hard to say. I don't know what they describe me as. It's a good question. A lot of my friends don't know snakes good enough to relate a person to a snake, so probably not going to ask them that one. Wicked Wildlife, I'd love to get over there one day and work with the mambas and cobras. Dude, if you ever get a chance to come over, come on over. It'd be awesome. We got a place for you to stay. You might have to sleep with the reptiles. It'd be fine. I mean, that's what we do, right? No, but seriously, Nick, it would be awesome. Thunder Basilisk. What are your thoughts on hybrid snakes like Gabino vipers, which are gaboon and rhino viper hybrids? I did mention in this video already that I don't like hybrids, but if it's a naturally occurring hybrid, it doesn't really bother me. It's kind of neat. Like for instance, the rhino and gaboon, the Gabino, that's a really cool snake, right? I mean, that's interesting. It's not my favorite. A lot of people get really obsessed with it. It's not that cool, but they are kind of neat. There was another one I was thinking of just the other day that I thought was really interesting. The copperhead cottonmouth's kind of neat. The canebrake and the eastern diamondback rattlesnake, really cool. The batwing, as they call it, pretty neat snake. I don't know. There's also been some really weird hybrids out there. Just the other day, I realized there was a zoo that had a copperhead timber rattlesnake hybrid. What? I didn't think that a crotolid in a keystrodon like that could actually hybridize. They can, apparently, because it's been documented. There are individuals at zoos, they hybridize. That's freaking interesting. But, and then he also asked, how hard is it to create said hybrid? I think there ain't a lot of science that goes into it. I think for the most part, you treat both snakes. I mean, a rhino and gaboon pretty much came from the same, you know, basic area, like temperatures cooling and warming up and all that. That's pretty general. Of course, humidity on the rhino is much higher than it is the gaboon, but short term, just for breeding, not a big deal. It's more individual preference. If you can get a gaboon that's cool with it, if you can get a rhino that's cool with it, yeah, they'll totally do it. Won't be literally, but you know, they'll do their thing. I think it can be a little bit harder, you know, than I'm possibly making it out to be. There's certain species, like I said, the copperhead rattlesnake. I don't think that's as easy as a lot of people think it is, but it's very interesting to see that animal, needless to say. Anyway, like I said, I know that was a long video. I do appreciate you making it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, the quota still stands. If you can get 300 likes on this video, as soon as you do, I'll make another one. I love answering questions. It's actually kind of fun. Tonight I didn't bring the energy that I really wanted to, but I am a little sleepy. I am going to get a little bit of sleep before work. I do look forward to that. And I also look forward to seeing you guys here again soon. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have another video out. Appreciate you checking out this one. Make sure you subscribe and show all your friends. You have a great night. Bye.